Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm filming on the floor because I have a whole lot of books to show. This is going to be the middle grade March readathon, the usual prompts we have, plus the group reads. And I just, have so many books. It's just way more practical and convenient to like lift them up here on the floor instead of like sitting at my desk as I usually do. So like let's just start getting down with it. No, first of all, the middle grade March is, as always, hosted by Krista at Books and Jams, Katie at Life Between Words, and Amanda at On the Middle Shelf. Her screen name used to be the Curly Reader, and this year our prompts are: read a book by an author with 3 names, read a book with flowers on the cover. That was kind of difficult. I had to basically browse shelves to find those. Read a book that is part of a series, read a book that involves travel, read a book written in the 1900s. And apparently they were like playing really loose and fast with what they consider the 1900s. Like me, you're giving my like brain wiring, I think literally the 1900s, the first decade of the 20th century, the odds, not any time with like 19 in front of the year in the 20th century. That just seems a lot more specific than just saying 1900s equals 20th century. But I'm an out of touch dinosaur over the age of 40. And of course, as always, they're not, being like pedantic nitpickers about this stuff. You can overlap, like sometimes a book can meet like several of the prompts, or maybe like you're only reading one book but somehow it magically manages to meet all 5 of the prompts. And as well, the group reads are Moongarden by Michelle Berry, and The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Now let's just start getting down with the books. This is from the My America series. Unfortunately, I could not find the first book in this duology, Sophia Home at Last by Catherine Lasky, that involves travel. Like, I'm such a stooge. I was, and I guess like presentism a little bit, I was thinking, oh, she must be like a Mexican or a Spanish girl, because that's the name Sophia spelled with an F, and I come to find out she's Italian. So yeah, that does make more sense, like given like 1903. And so she settles in Boston after she gets off of Ellis Island with her family. Judging by the length, this is, a lower middle grade book. But I've really enjoyed the Dear America books, which I have read to date. They're like really fun. I love books told in journal format, particularly because I've been keeping a journal myself since September of 1989. And like, epistolary books, they can be hard to pull off, but like the Dear America books, they do it really, really well. They just obviously have a much different, plot structure than the so-called like traditional novels told in verse. And this is All of Me. I was looking specifically for as many Jewish themed books as possible to meet the prompts. Obviously, the terrifying rise in anti-Semitism all over the world, and feeling like we're just on our own different world from the rest of the people. We've been screaming for 17 months now and nobody is hearing us. They're just like going about their daily lives, don't give a a crap about the hostages or all the terrifying anti-Semitism. But anyway, this is one of the Jewish themed books, and I'm such a stooge. Until I saw the book in person, I thought he was standing up out of a wheelchair. This was a disabled kid's. Oh yeah, that's a bike. What a damn stooge I am. And I was also pleasantly surprised to discover this is a novel in verse. I really, really enjoy novels in verse ever since I basically discovered them in 2011 when I was taking a course in young adult literature. And this is the synopsis. Does his size define him? And this is the travel book. After a move across the country, Ari's parents work selling and promoting his mother's paintings and sculptures. And given some of the, when I was skimming through it, references, it looks like it might be set in the 80s, or unless he just, has reason to be listening to 80s music and playing 80s video games. I'll, see as I get through it. Ari's bohemian mother needs space to create, and his father is gone for long stretches of time on sales trips. Oh, that might mean having an affair. Meanwhile, Ari makes new friends. Pick, the gamer, the artsy Jorge, and the troubled Lisa. He is also relentlessly bullied because he's overweight, but he can't tell his parents. They're simply not around enough to listen. After an upsetting incident, Ari's mom suggests he go on a diet, and she gives him a book to help. But the book and the diet can't fix everything. As Ari faces the demise of his parents' marriage, he also feels himself changing, both emotionally and physically. Here is a much-needed story about accepting the imperfect in oneself and in life. And I've looked, through the book a little bit. He's definitely losing weight, so that's good. Hopefully it won't end up like, the modern day Sorry Not Sorry Hayes called, oh, you can totally be healthy even though you're obese. Why would you want to lose weight? Just rock out being 200 pounds. But, I'm Sorry Not Sorry. That's a total thing for another video, and this is another book involving travel and another Jewish themed book, A Sky Full of Song, and also it's three name prompt. Like unlike pretty much everyone has like the stereotype, the trope, and for good reason because it was very common. Like Jewish immigrants to the U.S. they settled on the Lower East Side, or at least somewhere in New York City, or maybe like went to another large city like Boston, Chicago, like San Francisco, like a few other places here and there on a major train route. But these people, they go out to North Dakota, so that's a completely different story. After fleeing persecution in the Russian Empire, 11-year-old Shoshana and her family, Jewish immigrants, start a new life on the prairie. Shoshana takes fierce joy in the wild beauty of the plains and the thrill of forging a new American identity. But it's not as simple for her older sister, Liebke, who misses their Ukrainian village and doesn't learn English as quickly or make friends as easily. Nitpicky, pedantic, historian person I have to point out, like, unless you were like ethnically Ukrainian yourself, you probably wouldn't think of that region as being like Ukraine or Ukrainian at the time. It was like all part of the Russian Empire. You would think this is part of Russia, but anyway, nitpicky rant over. Desperate to fit in, Shoshana finds herself hiding her Jewish identity in the face of prejudice, just as Liebke insists they preserve it. For the first time, Shoshana is at odds with her beloved sister and has to look deep inside herself to realize that her family's difference is their greatest strength. By listening to the music that's lived in her heart all along, Shoshana finds new meaning in the Jewish expression, all beginnings are difficult, as well as in the resilience and traditions her people have brought all the way to the North Dakota prairie. And I also, when I was looking up like series books and Jewish themed books, I saw what looked like a really fun, cute, lower middle grade series. The girls are in 4th and 5th grade, the Achdus Club by Fagi Holt, but unfortunately they all appear to be, out of print or like really, really expensive to get a copy at Amazon. And that I would really love to read those books eventually, particularly because this one reviewer said it's so like refreshing to find books that don't feel the need to define like Hebrew terms and like Jewish concepts and stuff and holidays and the glossary. They don't like stop the action. Like for example, like the example I think of most readily, All of a Kind family. Oh yeah, we're Jewish by birth. We've always been like observing, but we're going to just like totally stop the action to info dumply. As you know, Bob explained how to play dreidel for the benefit of the non-Jews reading this book. And so it's really refreshing when you're just like your own people are the majority ones reading the book, and you don't feel like, oh, you constantly need to define and explain things like in a way you wouldn't do in any other books. Like how often have you read a book where characters felt the need, oh, this is what Christmas is, and this is how we celebrate Christmas, and we're talking in info dumpy, as you know, Bob, detail among ourselves about a holiday we've been celebrating our entire lives, just so maybe people who don't know what Christmas is are, going to learn about it. But, anyway, it is at night or day, another three name prompt. This is like about the show. I know a lot of people complain like, oh, all World War II and Showa books are the same story over and over again, just new names and locations and slightly tweaked details. I mean, I understand it's a popular setting, like for very good reason, but it's kind of insulting to those of us who enjoy, like, not enjoy is really like a kind of really an inappropriate word, but you know what I mean, who it's meaningful to us to like write historical fiction about that ourselves, and who appreciate reading that stuff. There are so many different stories about that, and maybe in future I can make some videos based on blog posts about like why like Holocaust historical fiction is important and like why it matters, and like tips and like hints and stuff to make your story like stand out, and like important things to keep in mind. But anyway, what was it now, I wondered? Night or day, an ending or a beginning? And a lot of these books, they do seem to be in the first person, which I really am not a fan of, particularly for people who just seem to be doing it because, oh, it's expected, even if it doesn't really fit the story. And like first person present tense, I freaking hate that. My eyes freaking glaze over. So anyway, 12-year-old Edith has lived a protected life in the tiny German town of Stockstadt am Rhein. Now, as brutal acts of anti-Semitism, I shouldn't have spelled that word with the hyphen, but anyway, that's another thing for another video, explode in Hitler's Germany, she is about to travel thousands of miles over land and sea to a place that seems as foreign as the moon, Chicago, Illinois. Oh, it's so original when immigrants do not immediately and only go to New York City. And because her parents can't get permission to leave Germany, she is traveling alone. Haunted by losses, Edith must accept to life in a country where everyone she meets tries to define her with a single phrase: German, Jew, enemy, alien. And as she struggles to uncover who, in her heart, she really is, the answers arrive from some surprising places. And this is based on the author's mother's own experiences. And let's see, this is I think this book might involve some travel. This is obviously, picture book, and the length of it, it's a very, very, very young middle grade. Maybe it would even be like a children's book, not middle grade at all, but I would, like to read this regardless. And I did see this is an English language only version, but I also saw on Amazon they have an dual language Ojibwa English version. That's like really cool. Or Ojibwe, I'm sorry if I'm mangling that pronunciation. I am not a number. I've been a passionate Native American ally since I was like 5 or 6 years old. Like, Christopher Columbus is the person I most hate in history. Like, seriously, I just a genuine love and passion, inspiration about like Native American rights and representation and education. If I'm ever in a position like financially to do so, I would love to make a monthly, not just a yearly, donation to the Indian College Fund. And anyway, this is we don't use names here. All students are known by numbers. That's just one of the blackest marks in American history, like basically kidnapping Native American children and taking them off to like white Christian and Protestant like boarding houses and not boarding schools, and kidnapping them away from their families. How dare you speak your native language? We're gonna like beat you and rap on your hands until you only speak English, and cut your hair and dress like a nice little wasp and convert to Christianity, and like don't do anything Native American ever again. La la la. I have such profound solidarity with the Native American people, and I'm so glad many Native Americans also stand with like the Jewish people during one of our darkest times since the Shoah. Indigenous peoples stand together. So anyway, Irene and her family lived together on Nipissing First Nation until the day a government agent comes to their door to take Irene and 2 of her brothers away to live at a residential school very far from home. Irene's parents don't want to send their children away, but they are given no choice. Irene's mother hugs her close and tells her, "Never forget who you are." Irene cannot guess what awaits her at the residential school, but through everything she will cling to her mother's words. She will not forget who she is or where she comes from. Includes a special section with photographs about the real-life Irene and her family. Oh, here's some of the photographs. I'm sorry if this isn't like picking up. I do need a much better camera setup, but like hopefully soon I will finally find some things that make me look less like a unprofessional amateurish hack. None of the books are over there. The rest are all in my library bags. This is like one of the bags I'm taking to the library. It's from the Plushy Dreadfuls website. I have a whole bunch of like unboxing videos for them. This looks like it's the group Read the Secret Garden. They had 2 versions of the book. One was a large print mass market-esque paperback size, but I could not resist the larger one because it has pretty illustrations in it. Oh, there's a fox. And a few months ago I saw, I think it was 1948, film adaptation with Little Margaret O'Brien. She's one of the relatively few stars of the classic age of Hollywood who is still with us. She's in her 80s now. It was mostly black and white, but the scenes in the garden were in beautiful Technicolor. I love older like Technicolor films. It just looks so like pretty and artistic, and I would say like much like prettier and more beautiful than modern day color films, because it looks like a painting instead of just, oh, it's film, it's color, we just take for granted. And like, who doesn't know the story about this, like the lonely kind of like snobby what girl who was like, her parents were English, they were living in India, and then she gets orphaned and she goes back to like live with a relative at home in England, and like she makes friends with like a cantankerous little boy and some other people, and like finds like new friendships, and like she becomes like a different person with like, well, I'm trying to fumbling for words, like I guess she kind of grows up, is no longer like the nasty, like rude, insufferable what she used to be, because I guess she discovers like the real like meaning of friendship or something like that. Let's see, this is the group Read Moongarden. I my eyes glazed over, sorry not sorry, when I saw this as first person present tense. Like 99% of the time that is not a tense and point of view combination that works for me, or most books at all, particularly when it's not like like life and death, like very intense drama. Johnny looks at me on the bus, giggle, giggle, giggle. I do this, I do that, I say this, I say that, I do this, and I do that. Me, mine. I must start every single sentence with the letter, with the word I do this. It's just, it's why do you need sorry, not sorry to use first person present tense in a book that's just like a freaking contemporary or not. I'm sorry, I'm ranting. I just feel so strongly. I just hate first person present tense. Probably this will not be an exception, but whatever. Centuries ago, Earth's plans turned deadly, and humanity took to space to cultivate new homes. Myra Hodger is in her first year at an elite school on the moon, and she's crumbling under the pressure. She doesn't fit in, and worse, the tattoos that signal her number whisperer magic aren't developing. In her heart, she knows she doesn't have a career, and soon everyone else will too. Wandering the halls while cutting class, she discovers a secret lab hidden behind one of the unused classrooms, and, beyond that, a secret garden overflowing with plants, dangerous, toxic plants. As she learns more about the garden, Myra begins to wonder if she does have a career after all, one that died out when the Earth did. One that could help solve the food shortages the government doesn't want anyone else to know about. Re-envisioning the secret garden. I really do not like reboots. Sorry, not sorry. For a new generation, Moongarden weaves together STEAM themes. STEAM is in all caps. It must be an acronym. And intense social pressures in a stunning series starter, and introduces a dynamic heroine who might just grow a revolution. Maybe STEAM is the newfangled way of saying STEM, like A stands for like accounting or something like related to STEM. The two more books in here, Bigger Than a Bread Box. Again, this one involves travel and it's Jewish themed. Unfortunately, they put the damn sticker covering part of the synopsis. I hate when they do that. This is let's see. So inside the bread, I'm skipping over the uncovered up partial first paragraph. Inside the box was dark, but whatever was in it was pushing against the door. I opened it a little farther and peered inside. I gasped. The box was stuffed with money. Not in neat stacks like you see in the movies, but crumpled and piled and squashed. A bread box full of loose bills, all jammed together and spilling out of the box. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. So much money. What would I do with it all? My head swam from everything at once. Again, I do not like first person in most books. I needed to think this over. The possibilities were endless. I'd never be able to show anyone, because I'd never be able to explain it. But then I didn't have to. Not here, not in Atlanta. This could be my secret, because who did I have to tell? There wasn't anyone. And one final book, and I have another bag of books. This was, I interpreted it literally because, my brain wiring, like the 1900s, the aughts, the first decade of the 20th century. Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm by Kate Douglas Wiggin. I read this I guess 30-ish years ago, like more than 30 years ago, maybe more like 35 or so, in the early 90s when I was a preteen. I remember enjoying it, but like who knows, maybe I'll still like it when I revisit it, or maybe things about like the older way of like writing won't go well with me. Sometimes when I've revisited books I liked as a kid, I'm thinking more as like a writer than a reader, but sometimes they do still work out. And this was a theme. I don't really see it so many in books these days, like back in the day, like, oh, the big city, that's a terrible place. We're NIMBYs before NIMBYism was a thing. Like, let's send, spoiled little, like, Betsy, and, like, understood Betsy, like, off to, like, her farming relatives in Vermont, or because the child is orphaned. Oh, and farm life in the rural, in the countryside, it opens up a much, much better life than that nasty old city. NIMBYism for the win! But, see the synopsis. Yeah, Rebecca goes to live by her spinster aunts, and they find her more of a handful than they bargained for. But even more surprising than the transition of Rebecca into a well-mannered young lady are the effects that Rebecca has on her aunt's humdrum lives. Rebecca, with her wide, dark eyes and spirit that no walls can contain, will change their lives and the lives of everyone she meets forever. I'd have to look on my list of silent scene, but I'm thinking, like, pretty sure I saw the Mary Pickford version of Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, 1917 or so, I would say, maybe 1920, but probably sometime in the 19-teens. Maybe it was even 1914 or 1915. I've now seen over like 1,300 silents, and my goal for my entire lifetime is at least 2,000. This was Flowers on the Cover, which I found when I was browsing the stacks. Sharon Creech, one time winner of the Newbery Medal for Walk 2 Moons. Gina Filomena has been told she has an overactive imagination. With her bright clothing and artistic spirit, she's always felt different from the other kids in her class. That's kind of a trope. That is, until she meets her new neighbor, a mysterious boy named Antonio with a wide, welcoming smile. Add in a creative new teacher, Miss Lightstone, and a world of possibilities opens up for Gina, Antonio, and their classmates. With the help of Antonio and Miss Lightstone, will Gina find the answers to the questions, who am I and who do I want to be? And let's see, this is another flower book, Finding Junie Kim. I believe I've heard about this here and there, and the flowers and Ellen. Oh, I don't really know all that much about Korean history and culture. I would like to start filling in that gap. Like when it comes to the Far East, by far the place I love the most and know most about history, culture, language, religion, etc. is Japan. So Junie Kim just wants to fit in. So she keeps her head down and tries not to draw attention to herself. But when racist graffiti appears at her middle school, Junie must decide between staying silent or speaking out. Then Junie's history teacher assigns an oral history project, and Junie decides to interview her grandparents, learning about their experiences as kids during the Korean War. Junie comes to admire her grandma's fierce determination in protecting her family and her grandpa's unwavering compassion during wartime. And as racism becomes more pervasive at school, Junie taps into the strength of her ancestors and finds the courage to do what is right, just as her grandparents did. This is from the co-founder of the We Need Diverse Books campaign. I have many thoughts about that. It kind of, and I don't want to say gone off the rails or anything, but it just isn't what it originally set out to be, with a lot of agents outright admitting either in public or in secret, oh, we don't take writers who are trying to write about cultures and ethnic groups. They're not literally from themselves. Even if they're passionate about this culture, they're literally married to someone who comes from that culture and they're raising children in that culture, and how dare you, oh, but you can only write about this culture you come from, you can't write about anything else. So rant over. I know that probably makes me unpopular on the woke side of booktube, but anyway, I'm not conservative at all. And so this is also, I found in the series section of the children's room at the library. I just could not resist. So freaking cute, Dr. Kitty Cat. And there's so many other books in this series. Bramble the Hedgehog, Daisy's the Kitten, and you can see there's a little mouse as the nurse, Pumpkin the hamster, Nutmeg the guinea pig. I love guinea pigs. The illustrations are just so freaking cute. I love cats and just all animals. I would have become a vet if I could emotionally handle putting an animal down. And last but not least, well, I do have the Great Barbershop Battle series sitting in my cart at Amazon. I read the first book a couple of middle grade marches ago, but unfortunately the library didn't have the other two, so I liked it so much I would just like to get it for myself. Now here's the first one. This is I did read this for my young adult or my children's literature class. I think it was probably the children's literature class I took in 2013, 2012, somewhere like that. This is from American Girl Meet Julie. But of course, if you're going to read the whole series, why not refamiliarize yourself with the first book? And this is set in 1976 in San Francisco. I know some people get their knickers in a knot and they rant, oh no, is anything past 1950 or World War II? That's not real historical, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? It is contemporary historical fiction. Many things that happened then are now considered history. It seems like an entire world apart, and now 1976, it's almost 50 years in the past. You can't just say, oh, historical fiction automatically stops at 1955 or whatever like that. It's just a little bit different, and of course there are many things you need to keep in mind when you're writing contemporary and late contemporary historical fiction. I should probably turn some of the blog posts I wrote about that into videos, and these are the other books in the series. Julie Tells Her Story. Happy New Year, Julie. They all have very pretty much the same titles, just substitute the different name of the girl, Julie and the Eagles. Environmentalism was a big thing, and she also wants to play sports when Title IX was first coming in, and did I mention her parents are divorced, and just all the wonderful social changes and things going on in the 1970s. Julie's journey. So thank you guys very much. I don't have any other books to pack out. So thank you guys very much for watching all the way through to the end. Let's see if this is my 13th video in a row without any comments. I know I'm a community outsider. I've pretty much made my peace with that, but it would be nice to have be in a friend group on BookTube, not just have like a couple of, friends here and there. So thanks very much for watching. I will see you very soon. Bye.